My family used me as their free babysitter for 7 years, but when I had an accident and ended up in a wheelchair with broken hands, they disappeared for 4 months until a 60-year-old neighbor saved me and I showed them they'd never see me again. I'm 23 years old, I work in digital marketing, and I need to tell this story because what happened last year basically made me realize that my family only wanted me when I was useful to them. Sounds harsh, I know, but I'm going to explain everything. I guess I should start from the beginning. When I basically became the family's official babysitter without anyone formally asking me to, it just happened and I accepted it because, you know, that's how it works in families, right? Or that's what I thought. I'm the youngest of 4 siblings. There's Samantha, who's the oldest. She's 30. Then there's Nicholas, who's 35, and Heather, who's 28. I'm like the baby of the family. And when I was growing up, they all already had their lives together, their jobs, their houses, and eventually their kids. Samantha was the first one to have children. I think I was like 15 when her first baby was born. And I remember at the time I thought it was the most exciting thing in the world because I was going to be an aunt. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, honestly. At first it was nice, going to visit them on weekends, holding the baby, playing with him. But then Samantha started asking me for favors. Like, hey, can you stay with him for a couple hours while I go to the grocery store? And I'd say yes because, that's what we're here for. But those 2 hours turned into 4, then into all day. And suddenly I was watching her son every Saturday. And when I say every, I mean every. I don't remember a single Saturday between the ages of 16 and 22 when I wasn't watching one of my siblings' kids. Because, of course, then came Nicholas's son, then another one of Samantha's, then Heather's too. In total, there are 4 kids, and I became the automatic solution for everything. Need to go to the movies? Call Auntie. Have a date? Call Auntie. Want to sleep in on a Saturday? Call Auntie. And the thing is, they never paid me. Literally, never. Samantha gave me like $50 once, years ago. And Heather bought me lunch a couple times, but I basically worked for free for years because it was supposed to be my family responsibility or something like that. Looking back, I should have seen it coming. All the signs were there. Like when I graduated from college and none of my siblings went to my ceremony because, coincidentally, they all had plans that day. Or when I turned 21 and we planned a family dinner. But Heather canceled last minute because her daughter had a cold and needed someone to watch her. And guess who ended up babysitting while everyone else had dinner without me? Yeah, me. But at the time, I didn't see it as something bad. I just thought that's how families were. You make sacrifices and that's it. The kids are good. That's not the problem. Abigail, Heather's oldest daughter, who's now 12, is super sweet. The others are good kids too. But Abigail was always like my favorite, I guess. We had a special connection. She told me everything. Her problems, at school, her friends, everything. And I genuinely enjoyed spending time with them. It's not like they forced me at gunpoint, but it's also not like I had much choice because if I said no, oh God, the drama that would unfold. I tried saying no once. I think I was 19, and I told Samantha I couldn't watch her kids that weekend because I had final exams. She said, well, okay, I understand. But then she didn't talk to me for 2 weeks, and when we finally spoke, she acted like I had betrayed her in the worst way. So I learned to just say yes to everything because it was easier than dealing with the guilt trip. So, things went on like that for years. Me working full-time at my marketing job, watching kids every weekend, basically with no social life of my own, because when my friends made plans, I always had to say no because I was watching my nieces and nephews. I lost touch with a lot of people during those years, honestly. There were times I thought, this can't be normal, right? But then I felt guilty for even thinking it because, they're my family. Fast forward to about a year and a half ago, I was 22, almost 23. I was driving back to my apartment after dropping off Nicholas's kids at his house. It was a Sunday night and it was raining. Not a lot, but enough to make the roads slippery. And that's when everything happened. Some guy ran a red light. I didn't see him coming. I had the green and suddenly, boom, his truck hit me on the driver's side. I don't remember much about the impact itself, just the sound, like this horrible metallic crash, and then waking up in the hospital unable to feel my legs and with both hands bandaged. Turns out I fractured both wrists and my left ankle, and I had a serious spinal contusion that temporarily left me unable to walk. The doctors said I would need at least 6 months of recovery, maybe more, and that I was going to need constant help because I basically couldn't do anything on my own. I was in the hospital for like 2 weeks. You know who visited me? My dad came twice, 5 minutes each time. Like he showed up, asked how I was, said everything was going to be okay, and left. Samantha came once, didn't even sit down, stood at the door like the hospital disgusted her, told me what bad luck and that she hoped I'd recover soon. Heather sent a text message saying she was really busy but thinking of me. Nicholas, not even that, nothing, 0 contact. The only person who was really there was Betty, my neighbor. She's this lady who's like 60 years old who lives in the apartment next to mine, and when she found out about the accident, she went to the hospital every day, brought me magazines, flowers, decent food because the hospital food was horrible. And there I was thinking, this woman I barely know is showing more interest in me than my own family. When I got out of the hospital, it was worse. I needed help with everything. And when I say everything, I mean everything. I couldn't cook because I had my hands bandaged. I couldn't shower alone. I couldn't get dressed. I was literally like a baby again. I asked my dad for help, and he said, of course, that he was going to organize with my siblings to make a calendar of who would help me each day. You know what happened with that calendar? It never existed. The first few days after getting out of the hospital, Betty was the one who helped me. She brought me food, helped me shower, took me to my medical appointments. A neighbor I'd known for like a year and a half was doing more for me than my lifelong family. My dad showed up once to take me to an appointment with the orthopedist, but he spent the whole drive complaining about traffic. Samantha sent a message asking how I was, but when I told her I needed help, she said she was super busy with the kids. Heather straight up ignored me. 3 months went by like that. 3 months of being basically alone, dealing with the pain, with the frustration of not being able to do anything, with the depression that obviously came because my life had completely stopped. And during those 3 months, something in my head clicked. Like, I had a lot of time to think. Too much time. And I started to see everything clearly. For years, I had been available 24/7 for my family. I canceled plans, sacrificed my time, my social life, everything to help them. And the one time I needed something from them, they just disappeared. They weren't busy when they needed me to watch their kids, but they were super busy when I needed basic help to survive. And that's when I realized they only cared when I was useful to them. Betty helped me process all this. Honestly. She'd tell me, Mija. She calls me Mija, even though we're not family. Your family doesn't value you. And at first I'd defend them saying, no, they love me. They're just busy. But she'd look at me with that girl please face, and I knew she was right. It's hard to accept that the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally actually only love you conditionally. After like 4 months, I started to be able to walk again, first with crutches, and then without anything. My hands took longer. The physical therapy was brutal, but eventually I recovered most of the mobility. And 1 week after they took off, my wrist casts, guess who called? Yeah, Heather. I answered the phone and she didn't even ask how I was. She went straight to the point. She said, hey, I know you've been busy with your recovery and all that, busy, like I'd been on vacation or something, but I need you to watch the girls this Saturday. I have a spa day scheduled for months and I can't cancel. And I sat there with the phone in my hand thinking, seriously? Seriously? I told her no. Simple, direct, no. She was silent for a second and then said, what do you mean no? And I explained, I can't. I'm still recovering. I can't carry kids or run after them. She said, but you're walking now, aren't you? I saw you on Facebook. You're fine. And that's when something in me exploded. Like all the accumulated rage from months came out at once. I told her, you know what, Heather? During my recovery, nobody came to help me. Nobody. I was alone, unable to even open a water bottle, and none of you were there. So no, I'm not going to watch your daughters. Find someone else. And she got hysterical. Started screaming that I was selfish, that I'd always been the dramatic one in the family, that she had wanted to help but I never asked for help directly. Lie. I did ask. I hung up the phone. Literally just hung up and blocked her. And I felt, I don't know, weird. Guilty, but also relieved. You know what I mean? Like when you know you did the right thing, but all your conditioning tells you you're a bad person. 2 days later, my dad called me saying we needed to talk. That Heather was very upset with me and Samantha too, because apparently Heather had told her everything. I agreed to meet with them. I thought maybe it was an opportunity to fix things, to have an honest conversation. How naive I was. We met at a cafe. My dad was there, Samantha, Heather, and Nicholas, who surprisingly decided to show up. I sat down, and before I could say anything, Samantha started. She basically verbally attacked me for 10 minutes straight, saying I was ungrateful, that they had done so much for me when I was little. Like what? She never said that families help each other, that I was being immature and selfish. I tried to explain my point of view. I told them that for 4 months I needed them and they weren't there, that I felt used, that I only seemed to matter to them when I could watch their kids. And you know what they said? That I was exaggerating, that they had been busy, that I never asked for help specifically. That lie again. That anyway, I was better now. So what was the problem? Heather said, besides you enjoy spending time with the kids, you never complained before, so why is it suddenly a problem now? And I told her, because I realized you only care about me when I'm useful to you. And she laughed, like literally laughed and said, oh please, stop the drama. That's not how things are. My dad this whole time was quiet, and when he finally spoke, all he said was that I should be the bigger person, that they're my siblings and they have kids to take care of, and that I'm young and without responsibilities, so I should help. And that's when I got up and left. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just got up and left, because I realized there was no point. Nicholas caught up with me in the parking lot. I expected him to scold me too, but instead he told me something that left me frozen. He said, look, I don't agree with how they treated you just now, but you should know that Samantha and Heather are planning to cut off your contact with the kids as punishment for not wanting to help. They told me a few days ago. I stood there not knowing what to say. I mean, they were going to use the kids, my nieces and nephews, as a tool to manipulate me and force me to keep being their free babysitter. And the worst part is, they knew that would hurt me because I love those kids, especially Abigail. It was a calculated and cruel move. I asked Nicholas why he was telling me this, and he said, because it doesn't seem fair to me. But I'm also not going to get involved because I don't want problems with them. Typical Nicholas. Always neutral. Never gets involved in anything. He has money, has a comfortable life, and as long as his things are good, the rest doesn't matter to him. I went back to my apartment and cried. I'm not going to lie. I cried because it hurt to realize my family was capable of this, of using children as weapons. I cried because I felt betrayed. I cried because I was angry at myself for having allowed it for so long. About 2 weeks later, Samantha called me from another number because I had blocked her. It was like 11 at night and she was crying hysterically. Her oldest daughter had had an emergency, something with an allergic reaction, and she was at the hospital. She needed someone to watch her younger son while she was there, and her husband was traveling, and she asked if I could go. And I told her no. It was one of the hardest things I've done, honestly, because it was a real emergency and there was a child who needed care. But I also knew that if I gave in even once, everything would go back to how it was before. I told her to call one of her friends or to pay a babysitter. She started insulting me, telling me how could I be so cruel in an emergency, that her daughter was in the hospital. And I told her, when I was in the hospital, you visited me for 5 minutes. Samantha. And I hung up. I felt horrible afterwards. To this day, I don't know if I did the right thing, but what's done is done. My dad called me the next day. Samantha's daughter was fine. It was more of a false alarm than anything, but he was furious with me. He told me I had crossed a line, that emergencies are emergencies. How could I be so vindictive? I explained everything again. I told him I felt used, that they only looked for me when they needed something, that during my recovery, nobody was there. And he told me to stop victimizing myself, that family is family and that's it, that I was being immature. So I blocked him too. At that moment, I blocked Samantha, Heather, and my dad. I kept direct contact with the kids through social media, especially with Abigail, who already had her own phone. She'd send me messages asking why I didn't visit them anymore, and I didn't know what to tell her without bad-mouthing her mom. I'd tell her I was busy with work, that we'd see each other soon. She seemed to understand but also seemed sad. About a month later, I received a letter from Heather. A physical letter. Like, who writes letters in 2024? Right? But she did. It was like 3 pages of pure guilt trip. It said I was being selfish, that I was destroying the family, that the kids asked about me, and they didn't know what to tell them, that I was the only one causing problems, that they had only asked for help like any family does. The letter also said that I had always been the dramatic one, the one seeking attention, and that this was another example of that my supposed recovery hadn't been as bad as I painted it, that I had exaggerated everything to make them feel guilty. When I read that, I literally felt my blood boil. She was saying I had faked not being able to walk, that I had exaggerated my injuries. It was so ridiculous, it was almost comical. I showed Betty the letter and she read it and said, "This woman is projecting. She's trying to make you feel guilty because she knows she's wrong but doesn't want to admit it." And she was right. Everything in that letter was pure manipulation. I didn't respond to the letter. Instead, I made a decision. I changed my phone number. I didn't give the new number to any of my siblings or my dad. I only gave it to Betty, my friends, and my mom. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention my parents are divorced. My mom lives in another state and we talk, but we're not super close. She was kind of aware of everything, but didn't get too involved. Blocking my family completely was liberating but also terrifying. Like, they're your family. It's weird to just cut them off like that. But I also knew it was necessary because every interaction with them left me feeling worse, smaller, more useless. And I didn't want to feel like that anymore. Abigail found my Instagram account and sent me a message. She told me she missed me, that she didn't understand why I didn't visit them anymore, that her mom had told her I didn't want to see them, but she didn't believe it. And that broke my heart because the girl wasn't to blame for any of this. I responded honestly, within what I could tell in one 1-year-old girl at that time. I told her I loved her very much, that this had nothing to do with her or her cousins, but that I had problems with the adults in the family that I needed to resolve. I told her she could always talk to me on Instagram whenever she wanted, that I would never ignore her. We kept talking on Instagram to this day. She tells me things about school. I ask her how she is. It's nice. Sometimes she sends me photos of her and her cousins and tells me they all miss me. I don't know what their parents told them about me. Probably that I'm the villain of the story. My mom called me about 6 months ago. Someone had told her all the drama. Probably my dad. She told me she understood my point of view, but maybe I should consider forgiving. That family is important. That life is short. And I told her I wasn't ready. That maybe I never would be. And that had to be okay. She understood more or less. She didn't try to pressure me like my dad. She told me she supported me in whatever I decided, but not to close the door completely, because you never know. I'm not closed to the idea of reconciliation eventually. I guess, but it would have to be on my terms and with real apologies, not with more manipulation and guilt trips. Now I'm focused on rebuilding my life. I reconnected with friends I had lost during the years of being a 24/7 babysitter. I started going out more, doing things I want to do. I got a promotion at work because I can dedicate more time and energy to it now that I'm not exhausted every weekend. Betty and I became very close. She's like the grandmother I never had. We have dinner together like twice a week, watch movies. She tells me stories from when she was young. It's weird how someone who has no obligation to love you can end up being more family than your own blood. There are still days when I feel guilty. Days when I think, should I try to fix things? Am I the one who's wrong? But then I remember those 4 months of recovery. I remember being alone, unable to even make myself a sandwich. I remember asking them for help and being ignored. And the guilt goes away. I don't, if I'll ever talk to my siblings or my dad again. Part of me wants to believe they'll realize what they did and come looking for me with genuine apologies. But another part of me, the more realistic part, knows they'll probably just keep thinking I'm the dramatic one who exaggerated everything. And you know what? I'm at peace with that. I've learned you can't force people to value you. You can't make them see you as more than a convenient tool if they don't want to. And I've learned it's okay to walk away from situations and people who make you feel bad, even if those people are your family. Last week, Abigail asked me if I was going to her birthday next month. I told her the truth, that I didn't know. Probably not. She got sad but said she understood. I asked her what she wanted as a gift, and she sent me a list. Normal for a 1-2-year-old girl. I'm going to send her something in the mail, I guess. There's a part of me that misses the idea of having a united family. That fantasy of happy Christmas gatherings and Sunday dinners and all that. But I also realized that fantasy was never real. At least not for me. I was the free labor, the convenient babysitter, not the valued sister. And now I'm building my own version of family. With Betty, with my friends, with people who genuinely care about me without conditions. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's more than a lot of people have. I don't have a perfect ending for this story because I'm still living it. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, if there will be reconciliation, or if this is permanent. But for now, I'm okay with where I am. I'm healing, both physically and emotionally, and that's what matters. Sometimes Betty asks me if I regret cutting contact with them, and I always tell her the same thing. I regret waiting so long to do it. I should have realized earlier. I should have set boundaries earlier. But I guess you learn these things when you learn them. There's no instruction manual for these situations. What I do know is I'll never again allow someone to treat me like my only value is what I can do for them. Never again will I sacrifice my well-being for people who wouldn't do the same for me. And if that makes me selfish, then I guess I'm selfish. But I'd rather be selfish and at peace than generous and miserable.